Welcome to my official Week 15 picks and predictions for the 2024 college football season. We are heading into Conference Championship Week, so there are a bunch of high stakes games this week. So I'm going to go through every single game for Conference Championship Week, and I'm going to predict the scores as well as the spreads and the over-unders. But before we do that, let's start off with recapping my results from Week 14. Last week, I had a pretty decent week. Overall, I went 19-4 predicting the top 25 games. And I had a pretty good week against the spread. I went 14-9, which is a lot better than I was doing before. And with my over-under predictions, I was okay. I went 11-12. But let's get into predicting the 9 conference championship games this week. And it starts Friday night. We have the Conference USA Championship game between Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And believe it or not, this is actually a rematch from Week 14. Western Kentucky won in a low-scoring game 19-17 in Week 14. So this is going to be a rematch, and I expect it to be another very low-scoring game. And it is going to be hard for Western Kentucky to grind out a win back-to-back weeks against a good Jacksonville State team. It's hard to beat a team twice, but doing it back-to-back weeks is even harder, so this is going to be a tough game for Western Kentucky. The Conference USA Championship game will also be played in Jacksonville, Alabama. So Jacksonville State, I believe, will have the home field advantage. Their only loss in conference play is to Western Kentucky, but overall, I think Jacksonville State is the best team in the Conference USA. I don't see Western Kentucky beating Jacksonville State back-to-back weeks. I am going to take Jacksonville State in this game 27-21. I think they will cover the spread, and I definitely have the under. I think Jacksonville State will win the Conference USA in their second season at the FBS level. The next game is the Mountain West Championship game between number 11 Boise State and number 22 UNLV this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Last time these two teams played, Boise State won a close game, and it was hard fought. It was not an easy win for Boise State. And outside of the Oregon game, UNLV has been their biggest test on the season, and they will have to play them for a second time. I wouldn't be surprised at all if UNLV upset Boise State in this game. Their quarterback Williams has really stepped up, and they've been dominating teams lately. Boise State has had some question marks. They've had a lot of close games lately. They nearly lost to Wyoming on the road. That offense really rides and dies with Ashton Jeanty. So if UNLV can find a way to take away Ashton Jeanty, UNLV will easily win this football game. And maybe wear and tear can play a factor in this game. But personally, I like Boise State in this game. Ashton Jeanty has come on off of a huge performance against Oregon State where he ran for over 200 yards. And I'm confident that Boise State can win this game because they have home field advantage. This game will be played in Boise, Idaho. I think Boise State is the better team, and give me Boise State in this game 34-24. I think they will cover the spread, and I have the under. I think Ashton Jeanty will be the difference in this game. The next game is the American Championship game between Army and number 17 Tulane this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I was really surprised that Tulane lost to Memphis last week. I thought they were going to win and cover. I was just really high on this Tulane team. I was thinking they are the best group of 5 team, but they lost to Memphis. Outside of those 2 losses, they had the Power 4 teams at the start of the year. Tulane has been dominating everybody, and they've had one of the top scoring offenses in the country. Army is a well-coached football team, and it's pretty great to see them in the conference championship game. Their only loss is to a very good Notre Dame team. But personally, I am actually not too high on Army like some people are. I wouldn't be surprised if Navy actually beat Army because they are more two-dimensional. Army has won just about every game this year, but they haven't really played anybody. Tulane, on the other hand, they dominated Navy, beating them 35-0, and I think Tulane is a good football team and much better than Army. I think Tulane has the better talent and the better offense. So I like Tulane to win this game 31-20. I am easily taking them to cover, and I have the over for this game. The next game is the Big 12 Championship game between number 16 Arizona State and number 18 Iowa State this Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. I was not expecting Arizona State to go on a big winning streak and make the Big 12 Championship game. They are still a very young team with a very young head coach. They started off the season on a good note, but they had a couple of tough losses, including a weird loss to Cincinnati. But when you have a beast at running back in Cam Scatterbo, who is probably a top 5 running back in the nation, it makes it much easier to win games. This Arizona State team is very young, and they have been getting better every week, especially on defense. I really do think this game favors Arizona State. They have a lot of momentum and they have a beast at running back in Cam Scatterbo, and I think he will be the difference in this game. Iowa State has one of the worst rushing defenses in the Big 12, giving up over 170 rushing yards a game, while Arizona State has been really good at running the ball. I think Arizona State can grind out a win in this game and control time of possession. Iowa State has the advantage at quarterback with Rocco Becht, but I think Arizona State has the better all-around team. And I think Kenny Dillingham has something going with this Arizona State team right now. I think Arizona State shocks the world and goes to the college football playoffs with a Big 12 championship victory over Iowa State. All four of the Power 4 conference championship games have new teams in the conference championships. And there is potential for there to be 4 year 1 teams in their conferences winning their conferences. But I certainly think Arizona State will win the Big 12 in year 1. Give me Arizona State 33-28. I think they will cover the spread and I have the over. The next game is the MAC championship between Miami, Ohio and Ohio this Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. This will also be a rematch from earlier in the season where Miami, Ohio won the game by 10 points. Miami, Ohio has had one of the top defenses in the group of 5, but personally I think Ohio is one of the most underrated teams in the group of 5. I know they lost to Miami, Ohio, but they have been rolling lately, scoring a lot of points. They have a great wide receiver, a great group of running backs, and a pretty solid quarterback. They've been scoring a lot of points lately, but I also think the defense has really stepped up lately. I think Ohio is the best team in the MAC, and I think they have the most well-balanced team. It's hard to beat a team twice. I like Ohio to win this rematch. Give me Ohio 27-24. I like them to cover the spread and continue their winning streak, and I have the over. The next game is the SEC Championship game between number 3 Texas and number 7 Georgia this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Just like some of these other games, this will be a rematch from the regular season. And the last time these two teams met, it was a sloppy slugfest that Georgia ended up winning. Georgia controlled the field position and dominated the line of scrimmage. But if Texas plays a clean game in this game, I expect it to be close one way or another. Both these teams have had their fair share of concerns lately. I think it's certain that Texas has one of the top defenses in the nation, but the offense has been very lackluster lately. Georgia, on the other hand, they have showed promise on both sides of the ball, but they've also showed massive weakness. So it's really going to be interesting to see, but I think Georgia has one of the highest ceilings in college football if they can play 4 quarters. A lot of people are hating on Carson Beck, but he has had to carry this team on his shoulders. And if you look at his stats, he has double-digit turnovers and he's turned the ball over a lot this year. But in his last 3 games, that Georgia offense has really stepped up, and that's because Carson Beck has 0 interceptions. If Georgia can get healthy and play 4 quarters, I think they could be the best team in college football. Obviously, the defense does have some concerns. We saw it against Georgia Tech. But just about every team this year, maybe outside of Oregon, has had big concerns. And I am still very high in the Georgia Bulldogs because they have an excellent head coach in Kirby Smart. They will always be playing their best football in the postseason. This game will also be played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Georgia knows that atmosphere in that stadium very well, and I think Georgia is going to be prepared, and I think they are going to beat Texas twice. I think Georgia found something in the second half against Georgia Tech. I know they scored 0 points against Georgia Tech in the first half, but I like Georgia to carry over that momentum from that huge win over Georgia Tech. I think Georgia is the better team, so give me Georgia 30-24. I think they cover the spread and outright win this game, and I have the over. The next game is the Sun Belt Championship game between Louisiana and Marshall this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm a little unsure about this game. I haven't watched too much of these teams, but I know Marshall is on a 6-game winning streak, but they've also slipped away in a couple of close games, including an overtime win at James Madison last week. Personally, I do think Louisiana is the better all-around team. They've been dominating teams lately outside of that South Alabama loss. And I think they will be more prepared for this championship game. This game will also be played in Louisiana, and I think this game favors Louisiana. I like Louisiana to win this game 34-23, and I think they will cover the spread, and I have the under. The next game is number 1 Oregon versus number 4 Penn State this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This is personally the game I am most excited for this weekend, and I think these styles could clash. These are 2 very interesting teams. A lot of people are probably thinking Oregon is a lock to win this game. A lot of people have questions with that Penn State offense, and they can hardly ever win the big games. But Oregon is very unfamiliar with this Penn State team. They have a very good pass rush, and that offense has really been picking it up lately. They have a Heisman caliber tight end and Tyler Warren. And I just think this will be a tough matchup for Oregon. It is very hard to go undefeated in a season. Penn State's only loss is to Ohio State, but there's no saying how they will perform against this Oregon team. Like I said, these are two different play styles, and if Penn State controls time of possession and wins the line of scrimmage, then maybe they have a shot in this game. I do think Oregon has the better coaching staff and the better all-around team, but Penn State does have an easier travel in this game. Oregon is 12-0, but they haven't really played anybody outside of Ohio State, and how long can they keep winning these games? I think this game could go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised if Penn State pulled off a massive upset. They have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Penn State has a lot of momentum heading into this game, so does Oregon, but Penn State is going to be very motivated heading into this game. I do think Oregon's perimeter talent will help lead them to the win in this game, but I am still very intrigued with this matchup, and I'm very interested to see how this game goes. But I am taking Oregon to win this game 31-24, and I think they will cover, and I have the over. And lastly, we have the ACC Championship game between number 9 SMU and number 12 Clemson this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This is also a pretty interesting matchup between that SMU offense and that very good Clemson defense. I've been impressed with Clemson's defense lately. They've been playing like a top 10 defense in the nation. Obviously, they need more from the offense if they want to be a legit contender, but their defense has really stepped up lately. SMU's defense has also stepped up lately. They've been really good at forcing turnovers, but the last 2 weeks they dominated Virginia and Cal. And personally, I do think SMU has the edge on offense. I think Kevin Jennings is going to surprise a lot of people. He is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the nation. They have great skill position players. They have a lot of wide receivers who can make plays. And they have a really good running back in Smith. It's going to be interesting to see what the committee does if Clemson somehow wins this game. Does a 2-loss ACC runner-up in SMU make the playoffs, or does a 3-loss SEC team get in? Personally, I do think it's likely that SMU is a lock. Their only loss is to a ranked BYU team, and they have had some decent wins this year. They finished the regular season 11-1, and I think that should put them in the playoffs regardless of how this game goes, unless they get blown out. But I'm not expecting that to happen. In fact, I think SMU will outright win this game. I just think SMU is the better all-around team. So give me SMU 31-23 in this game, and I think they cover, and I have the under. But anyways, that is going to do it for my Conference Championship Week picks and predictions. You guys let me know your predictions down in the comments below. But let me remind you guys to like the video, and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you will love this channel, because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing, and also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.